Let's just start a scam charity, everyone. This video is supported in part by Squarespace. Make a beautiful website today with Squarespace. Last time on my wedding dress series, I think I'm gonna have to call in the troops. I was saved from slippery fabric cutting hell by my brilliant friends, and good thing I was too, because I've not been having a great time. I'm having a real bad pain flare, and with the wedding really close now, it was the worst possible and I guess most appropriate time, according to Murphy's Law, for my body to decide to just not work. So thank goodness for my friends. I will value them forever for helping me out in my time of need, and for making sure that I actually have a finished wedding dress on my wedding day and it doesn't turn unexpectedly into a nudist wedding because I don't have a dress to wear to the wedding. Okay, so you all saw the mock-up of my wedding dress last episode, which was basically perfect, except, as some of you noticed in the last installment, the fabric was a little bit loose around my bust. It fits pretty nicely if I'm like standing fully straight, but if I bend over it, like, there's just a little bit of extra fabric there. So what we are gonna do is fix this by making adjustments on this mock-up version on the bust, creating some small darts in the fabric and then pinning them in place at the point where the fabric is gaping so that the fabric will lay flush against my skin instead. Then we transferred these marks to the paper pattern. Whoa, okay. Hold up. There's someone drawing on my boobs and y'all haven't even been introduced yet. Let's rewind a bit, shall we? This is Chloe.
I may be iron deficient, but I'm not deficient on this iron.
And I think that sums up pretty well why we're friends. In fact, this is probably a good time to introduce you to the rest of the gang. Oh, do you remember that show? I loved that show when I was a kid. 90s kids remember. Anyway, where were we? Fixing the bust. Yes. Okay, so fixing the gaping bust was the first modification we made to the final wedding dress. So we transferred the darts that cinched in the bust onto both of the straps and the front piece of the dress, because the dart went across both these pieces. Then we modified these pattern pieces by chopping out the bits that the darts represented, which meant taking a chunk out of the strap by folding it like this and taping over it, and removing a wedge from the bottom of the front piece. Another adjustment that was made was to add a slight train to the back of the dress for maximum drama, while keeping the same length at the front. Now, this was done properly thanks to our resident wedding dress maker for a living, Ali. We split the back up into two separate pieces and then extended it both at the bottom and at the side. The train looks better and is given extra volume at the side by coming out at the knee and then going down below the usual hem a good 20 inches, lower than what it originally was. We haven't bothered to properly shape the back yet, so it'll look a bit spiky and random until we fix it up into a nice smooth hemline. That's all that was needed to add a train. Finally, do you remember in part 2 where I said I'd add the shirred part to the actual pattern instead of chopping out a piece and just sticking the shirred bit in? So I wanted to do that, but in the end we came to a consensus that I should do what I did in part 2 and just chop out a section and add a shirred triangle back in just like I did in the mock-up. However, Ali suggested that for the piece that I'm going to shirr, I should cut it out as a diamond shape and then fold it in half to a triangle. This would give it extra strength, seeing as this satin fabric is lighter and finer than the mock-up. So this triangle will later be shirred and added into the dress. And those are all the modifications for now, anyway. And seeing as the mock-up was nearly perfect, what could go wrong? Everything. Because I already went through the entire method of constructing this dress back in parts 1 and 2, I'm not going to show you in detail how I constructed the entire thing again, but don't worry friends, this is still going to be a fun, long, friend-filled journey, and a lot of things are gonna go wrong, so buckle up. Before we even started, there were a lot of things that we had to consider because we're working with this slippery satin fabric. Luckily, I have with me our resident wedding dress maker for a living, Allie, and I don't know if I even would have contemplated making my own wedding dress without her. I'm so glad I'm friends with a wedding dress maker. Here are some of her tips for working with shiny satin fabric.
It's good to check with satin. So these are in 2 different directions. So we're looking to see if the color looks different if you cut it in different directions. Okay. That's why there's arrows on the pattern. When there's double-ended arrows, it means it doesn't matter, but there's single-ended. Right. Yeah. So wait, have I got that right?
Yeah. So we decided that the satin didn't look different going in different directions, but to be safe, we would try and cut as many pieces as possible with the fabric laid in one direction.
Now I look like I'm at Hogwarts.
I was literally...
Kit is cutting fabric out of this peach cotton, which is not the wedding dress fabric, you might have noticed, because we're going to use these as interfacing between the front and back side of the straps. So then I bought everyone pizza, and then it was time for the great snipping of 2020. We've got Ali and Fiona on the big pieces on the floor, Chloe and Kit on the smaller pieces over at the work table, and me and Julia are
Spoony Team Couch doing management, keeping track. We're the middle people. Pattern pieces. Middle management.
Yeah.
And filming.
Yes, that I can do.
Teamwork. Yeah.
This fabric was such a pain to snip, even for Fiona.
Love to snip.
But after an entire night of teamwork, we got all the fabric cut out.
Everybody, we're done cutting! Yay! So it's been a week since everybody came over to help cut out the fabric, and I've done nothing. Well, I started making this quite fetching top instead of my wedding dress. Why? Because when I'm really stressed out about a project I have to do within a time frame, I procrastinate on doing something else instead. It's a really smart way to run my life.
Luckily for me and my procrastinating nature, everyone was coming around that night to help out again. Night number 2 was all about putting the pieces together and trying to get the dress up to a point where I could try it on. Unfortunately, I was in a lot of pain that night and had to take a bunch of pain meds, rendering me just a little bit loopy and unhelpful. Like me trying to get Ali to tell everyone how difficult she found doing a triple inset corner seam, which as a professional dressmaker for a living, she did not.
That inset seam, it was unbearably hard. I refuse to say that.
Or making incredibly inappropriate, quote-unquote, jokes.
Let's just start a scam charity, everyone.
Or insisting that we're all on Next in Fashion.
Welcome to Next in Fashion Season 2. Today we have three competing teams. Yes! And then I'll be like, Kit and Fiona.
However, this night wasn't a total waste, not at all. While I was off my face, my friends ensured that the dress came together, and we sorted out some important issues as well, like how we were going to finish the seams. This was super important to figure out because the fabric, 1, very easily frayed, so we needed to do it well to avoid having the raw edges fall apart everywhere. 2, the fabric is quite light, so we were worried about being able to see the seams from the right side of the fabric. We eventually ended up on this method. First, we cut the seams down by half, which took quite a while because these seams are both plentiful and extremely long. And then we zigzagged along the edge with a narrow zigzag stitch, and then we ironed the seams to one side toward the back of the dress. We even made sure that when we pressed the seams, the smoother side of the zigzag stitching would be on the underside when it was pressed, to doubly, triply ensure that the stitches wouldn't be seen or make little lumps on the right side of the dress. Brilliant. So with that figured out, we kept piecing the dress together. However, when we were almost done, trouble struck. For some reason, the pleat marks on the front of the bodice were at noticeably different places from the mock-up, and we could not figure out why. Turns out I probably did them a bit wrong originally. However, I was adamant that it was due to the difference in the sizes of the metered bias facing on the very top edge. In actuality, it was probably a mix of both of these, and those two small errors compounded to make the two look quite different. However, whatever the case, I liked the fit of it in the way I did it in the mock-up, even if it was wrong. So we had to try and figure out how I did it wrong and then do it wrong again on the final version. So it took us until very late that night and about 2 hours of discussion between me, Chloe, and Ali, and we still couldn't crack it. You figured it out?
No. Maybe. Stand by.
After sleeping on it, the next time we met up...
You're not gonna want to film this because we still have no idea.
We still don't know what's happening. Well,
that's good. Keep it real for the masses.
Chloe eventually figured out a different way of pleating that made the final wedding dress look more like the mock-up. I still don't really know what she did, but it worked. And everyone else who wasn't involved in the top saga had no idea why we were so elated by this.
We did it! We did it! They're the same! Yeah! Yeah, they are! Alright.
Anyway, next, Julia finished off the very top part, the bias tape, by hand sewing the bias down. Actually, they explain it better.
Do a thing called a whip stitch, where you basically work the thread in a spiral around and around and around. And then, because we want it to be nice and invisible on this side,
amazing.
You can barely see any little dots.
Amazing.
What I just do is I'll very lightly scrape the needle along and just pick up one thread and then go through.
That's so good.
And that means that you won't even be able to see it on the other side.
Amazing! Yay! Yay! The front now done, we continued piecing together the back of the dress, and then we had this.
Whoa! Oh my god! Look at it!
She's a mermaid!
It's such a train! Ah! This is so exciting! Careful, don't jump on it! Ah! Look at it!
This was when everything started feeling real, and I started thinking, oh wow, it's actually going to come together in time. And then we were up to the shirring. So remember that we had decided to make a diamond shape for the shirring, then fold it in half to create a triangle for extra strength for this part. Here's where problem number 2 arose. For some reason, the shirring would just not work with this fabric on my B335.
It don't work!
I don't know why, it's worked in the past. It was incredibly frustrating.
Why is it working better on the scrap pieces and not the actual dress?
Well, just keep at it.
Didn't work.
No. But after many...
4th tries the charm.
No, I think this is like the 5th try now.
Many failed attempts at shirring, I finally got it to work on my older machine. Gosh bless its cotton socks.
After the very first attempt.
Woo! Oh, can I get some zoomies? And then we just had to carefully slice a triangle out of the back, pop the shirring in its place.
Shut.
Yay!
The back is done.
Yes. Oh, it looks so good.
Everything is going so well. Everything's going so well.
I was then left on my own to piece the back and front of the dress together. So I did that, and with the base now constructed, it was time for the first try on.
Okay, look. Almost. I was worried about this, and unfortunately, it didn't just all work out. Like, you can really see my belly button, which I feel like it definitely means it's just a bit too tight. Oh, I'm stuck.
Lucci, I'm stuck in my dress.
Oh.
Ah! Okay, that's made it looser. Oh, I can breathe. Yeah, wow, so the first try on was such a disaster that I literally had to be cut out of the dress. Don't worry, I didn't just destroy the whole dress. I made literally cut through the shirring because I'm gonna have to replace that anyway, because that was one of the elements making the dress far too tight. I did a real whoopsie, and when I made my tool, the mock-up, I did it in what must have been a bit of a stretchier fabric than this bloody satin. Anyway, it's fixable. We just need to go back to the drawing board because there's some serious fitting issues that need to be figured out. But you know what? I think this is probably a good place to end part 3. Don't worry, we will get this finished. But stick around for the credits. They're a little bit special this time. Right now, I'm gonna bring you an ad for our sponsor, Squarespace.
If I'm here, you know what that means. It's time for us to tell you about a little website called Squarespace. But if we're talking about Squarespace, that means it's time for me to pitch you on an idea for what I'm going to use Squarespace to make.
Okay, so what kind of website are you gonna make?
Okay, so now, hear me out. Go with me on this. Let me pitch this to you.
I always have.
I've been leaning very hard on kind of celebrity in my previous websites. We had Adam Driver's Drivers, Jeff Goldblum's Golden Blooms, a lot of ones like that. And the issue with that is, you need quite a big get, obviously. Celebrities won't work for free. That's what I've discovered. So I'm going to pull on the power of the masses, the power of the crowd. Now, what do people use the internet for? They use the internet to find out what's good and what's bad. And everywhere you see top 10 best blah blah blah, top 10 worst blah blah blah. Oh, it's the best carrot recipes, or it's the worst, worst movies of all time. What about all the things in the middle? Sometimes you don't want something excellent. That's too much pressure. You don't want something terrible. You want something mediocre.
Okay.
So I'm going to start a website. It's all user submitted and it has one guideline. The website is going to be called 3-Star Reviews. It's a website for people to post anything they think is just okay.
Okay, alright. Look, I love it. One problem I do see with this concept is people are either motivated to review because something is either amazing or it was really, really bad and they want to have their like rant about it. I'm really worried that you just won't find those users that want to submit 3-star reviews. They'll like, I don't know, watch a mediocre movie and be like, well, that was alright. I'm going to write a piece about it to Luciano's 3-star review website.
Well, maybe that's a good thing because we will attract the most dedicated people. The people who are so dedicated to the art of reviewing, they will write a review for something that was just okay.
I mean, okay, these things do exist. You do occasionally find 3-star reviews on Google, like, and you're like, oh, why did you spend so much time
I'm pretty sure like the
doing this?
Pacific Ocean or something has just 3 stars. But Annika, how will I make this website?
Well, Luciano, my dear husband,
See our previous video for information about that.
you can use Squarespace.
Oh, I heard that Squarespace is an all-in-one platform
It sure is.
with easy-to-use tools that allows me to make a website with no coding experience.
Yes.
Nothing to patch or update ever?
Never.
So, Annika, I have an issue and I don't know if Squarespace can solve it.
Hit me up.
If I'm going to be taking all these user submissions, it's more than just I'm going to be able to handle. I'm going to need to, and I didn't really run this by you, hire a significant staff to work on the website. Will they be able to use the same tools that I've set up?
Well, once it takes off, which it will, and you're able to afford a huge staff around the world, you're actually able to section off your website and give selective access to different contributors. So they can't just write on the front page butts.
Yeah, I don't trust Chad to do anything except the podcast audio blocks.
Wait, you're gonna have a 3-star podcast as well?
Yeah, the podcast, it's interesting. It'll be meta because the podcast will be 3-star reviews of things, but the podcast will strive as much as possible to itself be just okay.
Well, you can also, with Squarespace, use audio blocks you can just set up a page and make that your podcast.
Yeah.
You can just upload each new audio file as you make it, and that'll be sent directly to iTunes and other podcatchers.
There's quite a good podcast I remember that did that on your website.
Yes, I believe it's called Watch, Read, Listen, and there's a new episode out, and there will be more. We're gonna be trying to do that weekly.
Yeah. Who knows? Will it actually be weekly? Who knows?
So, Luciano, I know that you need to hire your team pretty quickly because you're going to have all this 3-star information coming in.
Yeah.
You're going to need rapid growth of this website.
Oh, yeah.
I think a good way that you can do that is using Squarespace's email campaigns. It's a good way to reach your audience, remind them you still exist, and give them updates on what you're doing. And you can do that all from Squarespace.
Really?
Like newsletters and stuff, and send them out to people's emails when they sign up.
I'm glad you're finally on board with one of my website ideas.
Look.
Ironically, you're the most enthusiastic about this idea, and the whole concept is to downplay enthusiasm.
I'll give your idea 3 stars. Let's freeze frame laugh.
And let y'all know if you or anyone else out there want to get 10% off your first purchase of a domain or a website.
Not bad.
Go to squarespace.com, and then when you have done a free trial and you want to make it real, then you can go to squarespace.com/Annika for that 10% off code.
Nice. 10% off? Not bad. Not bad. Your old mate Annika's hooked you up. Alright, Wi-Fi.
Ew.
What, Whiffly?
Husband and wife out. That's how we end all videos from now on.
That's bad. I regret doing that. What?
I'll be back soon for part 4, and hopefully you'll be able to all see the dress brought to completion. Love you all, take care out there, and stay crafty. Bye!